Hello and welcome back. Switching gears today to Prime Minister, a solo play of Prime Minister from GMT Games. As you may know, I did a how to play series on this game, as well as an extended example of play with the designer Paul Hellyer. And I haven't been able to get back to the game, busy with other projects since then. So I was really excited to get this back onto my virtual table here. And what we're going to be playing is the C2 scenario, climbing the Greasy pole, which is unique in that I will be playing actually as the opposition Backbencher. I would be playing as the Marquess of Salisbury here, who is doesn't have the flatter ability, but has a level 2 influence ability, and I will be going in the party with Aberdeen, whose special level 2 ability is flatter, and we will be going against the Clockwork Russell Prime Minister. And there's a couple of special rules here to be aware of. The first is that in order to win the game, what I have to do is I have to become Prime Minister. But I can only challenge my party leader if we're in government. So first, I have to help get us into government. Then after that, I can think about challenging the opposition leader. And in the meantime, Russell will be trying to race towards 100 VP. And if he can do that before I can become Prime Minister, then I lose the game, or the Clockwork opponent wins the game, however you want to look at that. So let's take a couple of peeks quickly at some starting conditions. The Liberals have 330 members of Parliament, 270 are moderates, 60 are partisans. We start tied in the election projections. That'll quickly change, I think. And the Clockwork Prime Minister gets 2 supporter cards, which he will play when his turn comes up. There are a few other special rules. We'll talk about them as we come up against them. And the first is actually going to come up immediately, which is bill selection. It's handled a little bit differently because of the presence of the backbencher. And the way that it's handled differently is that I get to propose one bill, and the Clockwork Prime Minister then adds 5 bills to that and then goes through his selection process. So I'm going to take a look at 2 potential bills here. So the 2 bills that we are looking at here are the Dwellings Improvement Act, which is an act to clear slums, and an act for regulating the sale of intoxicating, the Licensing Act, an act for regulating the sale of intoxicating liquors. This one is moderates plus 20, which on the surface has a initial vote projection of 290. This has an initial vote projection of 340. But here's the thing. With his influence ability, the number of moderates that he has is going to climb really quickly. And this card actually comes with some pretty significant rewards. 2 on the electorate tracks, and then a supporter. And I think he stands a pretty good chance of passing this. So I actually don't want to include that. So I am going to discard that, and we are going to propose the Licensing Act as one of our bills. Now, for Clockwork bill selection, if you look down, he is going to draw liberal bills if the partisans is greater than 250. Otherwise, he draws cross-party bills. So as we saw, his partisans are currently only at 60. So he is simply going to draw 5 cross-party bills, and he's going to evaluate all of those along with the one that I proposed, and he's going to make his decisions. And again, we're going to go back quickly and look at his card just to make sure we know what we're doing here. His selection range down there at the bottom is greater than 310 vote projection if it's an A, or all members of Parliament, and greater than 280 if it's an M or a P. So let's take a look at which bills are even under consideration. So this one starts with 310. So that one is under consideration. This starts with 310 also. This one starts with 280, so it is under consideration. This one starts with 340 under consideration, 310 under consideration, 330. So all of these are under consideration. So first things first, I know in terms of tiebreakers that the bills with the highest VP total go first. So we'll take the 2 with 3. And now we have to think about which of these he's going to select first. So I'm going to just take a quick peek at the next tiebreaker. So the next tiebreaker is number 3, the largest net gain in popularity points for the PM's party if the bill were enacted now. And there's 2 of them that will cause his popularity to go up by 2. One in gentry in Scotland and one in gentry and the middle class. So that would take him up by 2, by 4, in Scotland. So it's so actually this middle class bill is actually going to win because the jump in the middle class is going to give him 2. The jump in Scotland is going to give him 1. Sorry, it's over here on the orange, but it's the same thing. So so he's going to choose this Public Libraries Act, enabling town councils to establish public libraries. I can get behind that idea, and we'll discard the remainder of these acts. Now, one thing I don't actually know, normally you would get a VP if he selected your bill. I actually don't know if that's the case in this scenario. It doesn't kind of say any, as far as I could tell. But he didn't select my bill anyway, so it hardly matters. So with that, with bill selection done, we move to the action round. And as I said before, the opposition leader is always going to choose to go first. Or maybe I didn't say that before, but one of the scenario special rules is that unlike in a normal game where the opposition leader will decide whether they go first or the backbencher goes first, in this scenario, the opposition leader always goes first. So we check his card, and his first cube, the priority is +2 to flatter, which is going to raise his favor, and he will not do that if he is already ahead by a lead of 3 or greater on favor. And he's not, of course. Oops, I need to add a cube of my own here. So he is not ahead by 3 on the favor track. So that means that he is going to spend his first cube to flatter Queen Victoria, which will then move him up to the 3 box. And then for his next action, he is going to debate a bill and reduce it by 10. So if we look at his attack range is bills 300 or 350. And this bill is 310. This bill is currently 280, and this bill is currently 310. So he will do one of these 2, and he'll choose this one because, again, tiebreaker wise, it has the highest VPs. So actually, sorry, I need to move these. I forgot to move these when I put them on the board. So he is going to move this down by 1, and that changes its projections from 310 down to 300. And that is all of his actions. So now it is my turn to act. All right, so what I was doing there while I paused for a second was I was kind of assessing which of these bills I believe is the least likely to end up passing. And it's a little bit, normally you would kind of look at the vote projection, but one of the unique things here is that our Clockwork Russell is going to be using his influence action. So he's going to be driving down or driving up the number of moderates pretty quickly. So he is going to get on his next turn, chances are, or over 2 turns maybe, to 330 moderates, which means all of these bills, even including this one, they're all going to be using 330 as their base. So interestingly, this all bill is the most likely one to fail, I think. So, and the reason I care about that is I'm going to use my debate card. So I'm going to spend my action cube to debate, but I'm going to also slide this. I'm going to put that on the opposition backbencher side. I'm going to put that on the opposition side, and I'm spending. My standing is less than 2, so I'm spending 1 cube. I reduce it by 10, and then now I am basically saying like, hey, public libraries are evil. We can't have this. I'm staking my entire reputation on this. If this bill fails, I can choose between 1 standing, 1 favor, or 2 VP. But I think we can get this to fail this turn. So that is my entire turn. And this is something I just warn you, I'm going to forget to do throughout. So we're going to be having to go back and remember to do this throughout. But at the end of every action turn as the backbencher, I gain 1 standing. So I gain 1 standing there for doing that. And then we move over to the Prime Minister. Now, this is the other thing I tend to, as I get going too fast, I forget to do. First thing the Prime Minister does is draw a Clockwork event. I'm just going to shuffle these. And we see what he does. So if his standing is greater than 9, which it is, and the highest bill is greater than or equal to 320, then he's going to spend a cube to go up in the gentry. So let's look at the current bill is greater than or equal to 320. So interestingly, this bill is at 300. This bill, which would be the highest moderate bill, is at 300. So none of the bills are actually in that range. So he is actually not going to spend that action cube, which is slightly unfortunate. All right. So now we reveal his supporter cards. That's the next thing he does. And the way you read supporter cards in the Clockwork is you basically check the first item, and if it is not futile, then you execute that. If it is futile, you go to the next one. So I'm pretty certain this is going to be fine. So he's going to put me up with conservatives and himself up with liberals. So he moves himself up with liberals. He moves me up with conservatives. That's a net gain of 0 because we both went up by 2. So we don't have to change the election projections at all. I think that was actually like a pretty favorable supporter card from my perspective. His next one is basically the same thing except doing it twice. So he's going to drive himself up by 2 with liberals and me by 2 with conservatives. So a lot of partisanship is going to be going on here as a result of this. You can see that's driving up that partisan value. But again, I think, relatively good result for me because it didn't result in a net change on the board per se. But now he starts taking action. So what we got to look at is his defense range. So for bills which are he will defend bills in the 280 to 340 range. For moderate and partisan, 350 to 340 range. Pretty much all the bills are in that range. And when we talk about his first priority, which is this influence action, only 1 bill has to be in that range. The action is going to affect all the bills, but as long as this is effective or within his defense range for 1 of the bills, then he's going to do it. So he is going to do this. I believe he's going to do this 3 times. And the only reason he wouldn't do it 3 times is if after 2 times, there was no bill that was under 340. So let's just walk it through step by step. So first things first is he does it once and he raises the moderates by 2 and drops the partisans by 2. So now we check the bills again, and this moderate bill, he's at 290 now. So this moderate bill is now at 320 and this one is at 300. So he's going to do it again because we are still within his defense range. So now the moderates go up to 310. The partisans go to 20. So 310. So he is now at 340 and 320. But once again, that still remains within his defense range. So he's going to simply do it again. He's basically going to turn his entire government into a government of moderates. So now, basically, all of these cards are acting as all cards. So everything is starting with a 330 base, and we'll move both of his action cubes over here. So now we look at bill resolution. And he is, so the way that he does this, he chooses what bill to resolve. I can actually go over here. I think it's over here. He prioritizes a bill with exactly 350 projected votes. And then he'll prioritize a bill with more than 350 votes. And then he'll prioritize a bill with 340 projected votes. So this bill right here has 360. And this one here has 340. So exactly 350, more than 350. So he is going to choose to resolve the Landlord and Tenant Act. And as a result of that, both of us are going to get 3 VP. He starts, as far as I can tell, with 5 VP. I had a question about that, but if I get an answer, I might switch that later in the video. But that's what the rules say, to start the clockwork at 5 VP. Then he is also going to go up 2 in Farmers and 1 in Ireland. So he goes up by 2 in Farmers, which is a gain of 4. And he goes up by 1 in Ireland, which is a gain of 2. So that is a total gain of 6. So his election projection marker is now sitting on the 6th space. So that is a bill resolution. Let me just remind myself here. So no challenge, because the opposition leader's standing is not high enough to challenge the prime minister. No election, because there are still bills on the board. So with that, we loop around to the next turn. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. I hope you're enjoying the video, the playthrough of Prime Minister, as well as the channel in general. Please leave comments with suggestions on things like other games that you'd love to see come to the channel, or improvements that can be made to the channel. And we will see you in the next video on Agility Snip's gaming table.